has the world's good and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does God's love abide in him? Little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and truth. Okay, so thing one. If I say thing one.
Thing one.
He says, we want to know what is love. And he tells us, love is essentially the gospel. The fact that we're sinners, Jesus came, laid down his life for us. That is love. That is the most extreme form of love we've ever seen throughout human history. Okay? Everybody agree? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then thing two. If I say thing two.
Thing two.
What's our response? It says to lay down ours as well. Now this looks different for everybody, but there's no excuse not to. Okay? Don't say, there's no excuse you can come up with, it's a valid excuse to not love people. There are people that will aggravate you and just drive you insane. Spoilers, it doesn't stop. Adults, are there people that still drive you insane today? But there's no excuse to not love them. Okay? Let's read verse 18. I want everybody to read it together because it rocks our world. Little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth. And so basically, what that's saying is, there are way too many people out there just talking about loving people. But what are we going to do that's different? I'm reading this book right now. It's called Deep and Wide. It's by the pastor of Andy Stanley. Andy Stanley's a pastor in Atlanta, has this really big church, a couple other campuses. The dude's a genius. And his whole point, the whole point of this whole book, is about creating churches that unchurched people feel safe in. That unchurched people feel welcome in, unchurched people feel okay in. And it just had me thinking, like, do we do a good job of that? Of whether it's in our church or in our small group or at FCA or our Bible studies that we have with our friends on the site, do we do a good job of making the unchurched people feel loved? More often than not, the answer is no. Because we pull back, we get our little church friends, we get our little church clique, we have our little Christian circle over here, we have our friends over here. Hey, I was the same way. In high school, I had my little clique, there was my little group of church friends, we hung out all the time, and everybody else kind of fair game. We said what's up in the hall. But other than my little church friends, we were completely pulled away. Too often, we fall into the same thing. And if we believe what this says if anyone has a world's good and sees his brother in need, let's take it a step further. Let's not even go material things. Let's not even go money and food and all that stuff. But let's take the message of the gospel. That's a pretty valuable thing, right? Right. If we have this valuable message, the most important message that's ever existed, and we pull that back and we don't share that with people, why do we hate them so much? I felt extremely convicted about this just in preparing for this message alone. How well do we love people? Because the thing is, a lot of people would come to church if we invited them. A lot of people would talk about Jesus if we just started that conversation. But more often than not, we get so wrapped up in our little churchish world, in our little Christian-y world, that we forget about everybody else. We get in a very me-centered mindset, and hey, I'm just as guilty, if not more guilty, of it than anybody in this room. But my question is, how do we respond to that? If we see people out there that don't understand the gospel, that don't understand Jesus, don't understand anything we do, why are we pulled back from them? We should be out there on the front line, engaging with them in conversation and inviting them to everything we can, but we don't. And so my question for us today as we move forward is how do we get beyond our little comfort zone? Because if we really love people, we're going to start investing in God's people. There's really no other choice. Like I said, loving God and loving people aren't mutually exclusive. There are a lot of people that can say, hey, I'm like a 9.5 on the loving God part, and I'm like a 3 on the loving people, and the other way around. Some people are really good at loving people, but the loving God thing kind of slacking. We got to the point where these things are combined, they mesh together, and it's not just two separate worlds colliding. Okay? And if there was, I want to talk about that too. I want us to break down the commandments, yes, but I also want to talk about how do we get outside of this little comfort zone that we built for ourselves, whether it's here, whether it's at school, whether it's just with your friend circle, no matter what it is. I want us to get beyond that and figure out how to move on from there, how to engage people, how to love people, how to love the people that drive you insane. That's what I want to talk about today. I'm afraid, and then don't move. Because there's an answer. God, we love you. Thank you for the day. I pray that every person in this room loves people. God, love people the way that you loved us first. God, I pray that we don't hide away, we don't pull away.